You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Cricket Podcast where the IPL final has finally ended. I'm Jack Hope, I'm joined by Ross Legg and Max rowe-brown. Boys, and I don't care which one of you goes first, what the hell did we just witness?
What we saw was Jadeja bailing out Mahindra Singh Dhoni. That's what we saw.
It was a final rich in drama. We saw Sai Siddharasan blast and what really should have been a match-winning 96 early in the game. We saw the rain came down. We saw a bunch of dancers dressed like ISIS hostages and a rapper whose name, I'm informed, is Divine. We saw Conway going ballistic. We saw an adjusted score that frankly was ludicrously too low. We saw Dhoni promote himself to hit the winning runs in his farewell match. We saw Dhoni get a golden duck. I barely stopped laughing before we were in the final over, where we saw Mohit Sharma bowl 4 unbelievable balls. And then, as you said, Ross, Jadeja bailing out the Chennai Super Kings in... I don't know, it wasn't a win for cricket, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying not a win for cricket.
It was a win for drama.
It was a win for drama. It was a win for Chennai Super Kings. It was a win for Dhoni.
Somehow.
And, I've got issues with some of the other parts of it. But, like, you know, as storylines go, in WWE IPL land, I don't think we're ever going to top this. I thought Kohli v Gill a week ago, Max. I thought that was peak IPL. You know, we had a little dip.
So many subplots.
We've definitely just hit peak IPL. What do we want to do first? Do we want to talk about the cricket? Do we want to plug our sponsor? Do we want to do a summary of the match? Do we want to, thank our families for where we are today?
For giving birth to you and being able to witness that final.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, before we get to the ludicrous cricket, why don't we plug the serious cricket,
yes,
who are our sponsors? And if you go to seriouscricket.co.uk and use the code TCP23, you can get 10% off cricket equipment that will allow you to do all sorts of crazy things, like the things that we saw today.
Absolutely. Use the code TCP23 for 10% off there. Max, let's stick to roughly the game plan, because then we normally do is a summary, and then we'll do all the talking points, and there are a fuck ton of those. And when I say it wasn't a win for cricket, clearly this was a mega win for cricket. Like, this is cricket's transition into becoming and usurping the WWE as the number one prime time entertainment product across the world. This is where it begins today.
I think that's a win for everyone.
It's a win for everyone. It was ludicrous. That's the point. What happened? Get us to the point.
Well, they say. The best games are those nip and tuck test matches where it all comes down to the final ball after 5 days. And we weren't far off that 3 days into this IPL final. And the first innings was so long ago, I can barely remember what even happened. Obviously, yesterday it just rained a lot. And then today we got some cricket. Hooray. And it was a story of the kids for Gujarat Titans. Step aside, Shubman Gill. There's a new young person on the block now, Sai Siddharasan, who, as you said, 96 or 47, just flicked a switch and went ballistic. Powered Gujarat to 214 off 20 overs. And I thought that was, I think quite a few of us thought that was the end. Game over. Then the rain. Then the rain came down once more. Completely sodden on one small patch at the outfield. The covers were blowing everywhere. It looked like an apocalyptic scene. Somehow, there was still an entire crowd of people dancing around at midnight after into the second day of this game. And we were all just waiting to see how much cricket would get and what the score would be, as it was 171, the target from 15 overs. We'll get to that. And Chennai came out all guns blazing. Devon Conway was a man possessed. The running between the wickets was as intense as I've seen, ever from particularly from a bunch of old guys in yellow. That's for sure. Shubman Dubey took ages to actually hit anything, then eventually started hitting things. Rahane did what he did. Rayudu in his last ever game looked like he won it.
Unretire. Come back. We want more. I don't.
That was, that was the one story. The last game, Rayudu, he's going to do it, and then he fell. And as you alluded to, it wasn't Jadeja, the next man in. It wasn't Moeen Ali, the next man in. It was the king himself. He just unilaterally decided he was going to get up and stride to the crease.
King
to
shit.
see CSK home. 22 runs needed of 14 balls in the bag. Who had Golden Duck?
I thought a high chance, to be honest. I did think that there was a lot of ego walking out to that crease there. Not a man known for being Billy Big Bollocks, but that was really...
I mean,
we'll talk about it later.
As alpha moves go, it was one of the most alpha of alpha moves. In the end, the best you can say is that he failed fast, and it came down to Jadeja and Shivam Dubey to try and take 13 off the final over. As you said, 3 absolutely nailed Yorkers. Fantastic half an over from Mohit Sharma. It's just a shame about the other half of the over, where it all went wrong, and Jadeja powered CSK to a quite frankly unbelievable victory. I still don't know what I've seen. I still don't know how to feel. I'm a little bit confused, but what I do know is that the boys in yellow won, and I'm a very happy boy.
Right, we're going to do congratulations for CSK first before we talk about all the reasons why they shouldn't have won that game and why it was crushingly unfair on Gujarat Titans and cricket in general, and how there should always be an asterisk next to this trophy, as far as I'm concerned. And
looking forward to all our YouTube comments.
yeah. But first of all, we are going to say, if you're watching on YouTube, do hit like and do hit subscribe. Also wanted to say, if you're a listener or a viewer of this show, there is more coming. It does not end here. The story is not over. We've got the World Test Championship final. We've got the Ashes. We've got more T20 franchise tournaments later in the year. Then we've got the World Cup. And then England go to India. There's a boatload of reasons why you need to click subscribe and follow us. We also want to say a big thank you. The last 2 months have been the most listened to, most successful period in the history of the Cricket Podcast by a long way. Yeah, we're pretty big time now, boys. Let's pat ourselves on the back, but really let's pat our audience on the back and say thanks to everyone for coming with us, for enjoying it. I hope we've entertained you, or at least made you think, or at least annoyed you enough that you came back to laugh at us later when something
some level of engagement.
yeah, some level of engagement. It's been a pleasure. Ross, the task falls to you. Chennai Super Kings, they do it off the last ball. Talk me through some of the heroic performances today.
So at the start of the game, it was a 50-50. I thought it was really, really well balanced. CSK coming into it, they've got a bunch of old dudes, as we always say. They literally have turned up, and here you saw some of the very best of that. Rahane looked in fine fettle. Rayudu made sure that his retirement party was well worthwhile. Dhoni was out of character. The stumping. Should we talk about the stumping?
Stumping was good, yeah.
The stumping was good, but it should well be known it is the best stumping of all time. Max, you're a wicketkeeper. I'm a part-time wicketkeeper. Yep. We can appreciate the skill that goes into being a wicketkeeper, right? If Dhoni was to miss that stumping opportunity, that would have been like an
absolute travesty.
Yeah.
The way I described it was like scoring an open goal, but what you've done is banged it into the top corner from 8 yards, because it was. I mean, you've got to be taking that stumping, but it should be said that the way he did take that stumping was very impressive.
Yeah, it was a good bit of work, but it was probably not in the higher echelons of the best stumping ever.
I love this. We've asked you to say some nice things about Chennai Super Kings. The first thing you said, the first thing you've talked about is how Dhoni's stumping, which is the only contribution he made to the game. The first thing you said
was that Rahane looked good and Rayudu had fun.
Yeah, come on, I've done it. I find it very weird giving people compliments, so that's why I do this podcast.
Especially CSK.
Max, you support the Chennai Super Kings. What did you think meant that Chennai deserved to be champions today?
Oh yeah, I didn't give them a hope of chasing down 214. I gave them a bit more of a hope of chasing down 171 off 15 overs, but I still didn't think they really had it in them. And just what impressed me was the intensity that they went at it with. I mean, the power play, Gaikwad and Conway. That's the where Gujarat have been so dangerous this year with Mohammed Shami, and they really took it to him. I mean, they basically they knew, didn't they, that they had to go fast, and the only way they were going to win it was to go fast. And they played fearless cricket, and that really impressed me. The way they went at it, and they should be given some credit for that. Again, the same for Rahane and Ryder. Shubman Dubé was trying to hit the ball a bit too hard until he finally got one out the screws, which turned things around for him. And just in general, given the hammering they took with the ball, and the fact that they then had to wait around for ages, not knowing what the case was going to be, I think just they were probably buoyed by the fact that they were actually given a shout at winning it, in the sense from the first point that they actually got to go out and bat for a bit of time. Then arguably that they got given a slightly generous target. I mean, you can give us your opinion on that. I think it's probably maybe a little bit. I don't think it was crazy low, but I think one run extra would have been too much for them, I suppose. So you could say that that equation fell for them very nicely in the end. But I just was really impressed with the way they approached it and the intensity they went at, and it's sort of how they've been playing all year, which is so different to what we expected, I suppose, from that middle order and what we've come to see from CSK in the past. So fair play to them for that performance, with all the caveats and asterisks you want to throw at it. There you do have to level some praise at that, and finishing it at the end.
Well,
10,
I mean, yeah, look,
10 off 2. What a way to do it. Jadeja, much maligned for his batting this year.
You're not really going to get a more dramatic end to a tournament. It has been an IPL full of drama. They kept banging on the most 200 scores ever. But if you look below that surface level stat, we've had mad finishes. We had the missed Mankad. We had Rinku Singh. We had Kohli v Gill, as we were talking about. We've had all of these insane group games leading up to this moment. And I think the final over, or the final 5 overs, to cap it all off with the drama, the seesawing of the game, how Chennai effectively had won it, and then CSK threw it away a little bit. I mean, Dubé was going nowhere, and Dhoni in and out, disrupted the feng shui of the of the CSK lineup and the innings.
It's like getting home and seeing an armchair on the other side of the room and going, what?
And then Mohammed, after those 4 balls, 10 off 2 balls. Now it's not impossible to do that, is it? It's T20 cricket. It happens fairly regularly, and Jadeja knew exactly what he had to do. He wasn't going to try and nurdle one, was he? So there were going to be 2 pretty hearty swings of the bat. But still, at that point, it's swung from a 20% chance of Gujarat winning to an 80% chance of Gujarat winning, and then Jadeja to do that. An iconic cricketer in what is, and if you zoom out a little bit here as well, Chennai Super Kings, a lot of players from this Chennai Super Kings team are kind of an iconic bunch, aren't they? You've got Dhoni, you've got Jadeja, Gaikwad's in there, I'd probably say. Even Dubé, arguably, is one of the players. I think he's won 2 titles with Chennai now. Deepak Chahar, obviously. There's a few players in this team with a bit of Chennai Super Kings credit in the bank, and for one of them, and for one of the cricket's global superstars, to be the guy who bangs 6-4 to win the match, that is great script writing, if nothing else.
Especially after and the wider context of him, so nearly leaving.
Absolutely,
and that debacle.
Yeah. No, I mean
there's subplots upon subplots upon cliffhangers and twists, and over all sorts of time periods. You've got it's crazy.
I think we should do a couple of shout outs to some Gujarat players as well. Nur Ahmed, 3 overs, 17 for 2. Ross, I'm going to make you give him some compliments, and I feel like you're generally nicer to young people than older people.
Am
So,
I?
yeah. So no, he did bowl. But, he's one of two Gujarat players who definitely don't deserve to be on the losing team.
Yeah, I think this season in particular, he's been absolutely sublime. And I think coming into this Gujarat Titans lineup, he said, again, we talked about it last show, real clear role definition. He upstaged his compatriot Rashid Khan today in a big way. And yeah, I thought that he looked like he had a proper plan. He didn't go for a boundary in any of his 3 overs, which just screams how much of a great game that he actually had. And for him to be turning around today and be like, I did my bit, lads. And it wasn't to say that his teammates didn't do their bit. Sai Sudarshan was fantastic. I think he was getting pelters by the commentators of this guy's absolutely rubbish. What's he doing? His strike rate's appalling, blah, blah, blah. And we see it quite often, right? When you're kind of 7 from 9 or kind of 20 from 18 or whatever he was. But he properly kicked on. And there was a bit where people were going, retire him out. And then he hit 2 sixes in a row. You're just like, he was absolutely perfect in that lineup today. And yeah, 214, if it was a 20 over game, would have been unbelievably difficult, I think, to chase down here. And I think Gujarat Titans can leave this final with their head held high, I think, and especially Noor Ahmed and Sai Sudarshan.
Yeah, I mean, not just on Sudarshan as well, obviously, and the other guy who didn't deserve to be on the losing team. Like a breakout innings for him. I think we thought he had some talent, but he hadn't really translated that into a big score or even like a low score that happened quite quickly. He'd been sort of consistently putting out some runs and replacing Kane Williamson. I don't think Williamson has this innings in his locker anymore, to be honest. If it certainly hasn't for a while.
Mate, they wouldn't be here. If Kane Williamson didn't get injured, Gujarat Titans aren't in the final. That is a fact.
96 of 47. I think he was 9 off 12 at one point. So his last 85 runs off 35 balls from when KP was like, this guy's rubbish, basically. That was well, okay. Do you know what? Really, the only bad thing about the final over was KP. Like all the drama. Like I probably on balance wanted Gujarat to win, and I like Mohit Sharma. I really like Mohit Sharma. I wanted Mohit Sharma to win, and I actually controversially dislike Jadeja. I find him quite irritating. Great player to watch, obviously, but like as an individual, I just find he grates on me a little bit. So I would have quite liked it, to be honest. And my personal, I don't know any of these people. They might be, Jadeja might be brilliant. But like in my personal narrative, I thought it would be hilarious if Dhoni and Jadeja were 2 of the players who dropped the ball and Mohit Sharma, the underdog, bowled the amazing final over. I was ready for that. That was the one thing I wanted to buy in on. All the drama that happened, I'm fully on board with that. Like what we got, very happy with. I'm not saying I want to cash it in. Like there's plenty of good stuff. Negative though was KP. Why they brought him back for the final over? The death bowler nobody wanted. Fucking yeah.
Tushar Deshpande.
Yeah, really.
Comms.
yeah, basically. Deshpande, he was pretty fucking bad, wasn't he? 56 off his 4 overs.
Can we please talk about Dhoni?
Look, what we're going to do, I'm going to read out the Super Chat, then we're going to take a break, then we're going to talk about Dhoni and some lesser-known storylines. And I think we should give our opinion on whether we think it was fair that Chennai Super Kings won the match. No, and we're not saying, I think I'm tipping my hat, certainly, that I'm not sure that it was. I'm not saying that they don't actually deserve the trophy because they won according to the rules, but there's some question marks. There's some question marks, is all I'm saying. Jitta says, great game to cap a wonderful IPL. Great job, lads. You made a great season, awful Rajasthan notwithstanding. Even better. Cherries on top. Hope you can do the same. Hope you can do some of the next IPL live from India. Well, that would be a treat. They sent a super chat in there, Jitta. If everybody did that,
it's going to need a hell of a super chat to make that happen.
Then there's a possibility. We're going to hit the break button, and then we'll be back in 25 seconds with part 2.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Welcome back to the Cricket Podcast, everyone. I was going to introduce myself again there. I am Jack Hope. Still Jack Hope. I was Jack Hope earlier. And Max and Ross are still Max and Ross. Ross, you were leading. You were about to go on Dhoni.
Mate, it was
And I'm
the
gonna give it a
funniest.
chance.
It's
Yeah,
the
go on.
funniest thing I've ever seen
It was so funny.
in sport ever. Since we started this podcast, all we've been told is how magnanimous, how much of a team player, how much he doesn't like the spotlight.
How
that
great he is
Dhoni-
under pressure.
Yeah, Dhoni is Iceman. He's got ice in his veins. He's the coolest guy. Doesn't feel any emotion. There is nothing there. There is no ego to the man. He is just the best captain in the world. And a lot of the evidence was suggesting that, right? But today blew all of that up to smithereens. And there's no Dhoni super fan out there who can't watch what he did today, and you can sit there and back him completely and say, look, this guy is still unbelievable. Like, don't get me wrong, good history. They've ended up winning. It would have obviously been funny if they had lost, but that was the most ego moment in sport I have ever seen. And then him getting out for a golden duck, just plonking it straight to David Miller at cover. But it filled me with a life force. I think I'll now live till I'm 200 years old. Like, it has fueled me like nuclear fusion.
That is why Dhoni is such a team player, because he knows that. And he is willing to embarrass himself on the world stage just so you, Ross, one of his favourite podcast hosts of all time, can have that extra life force.
I was crying with laughter. It was like him like getting into that situation. Like, maybe people could argue for the left-hand, right-hand combination, but just in that scenario, Jadeja was probably the better option. Moeen Ali was probably the better option. Dhoni promoting himself, because it was I think it was 24 off 14 or something like that when he walked
22 or 14, I think.
22 or 14.
Yeah.
He walked to the crease, and it was just such a perfect moment. And yeah, nourishing for the soul.
I have to agree as well, because of all I've heard from Dhoni, I know one person that's met Dhoni, Joel, who plays cricket with us. He was a net bowler for the Team India when they went to New Zealand in, I think, 2014, like when Joel was young. Mm-hmm. And he said he had to do 2 hours of bowling to Kohli, and afterwards he went to get an autograph off Kohli, and Kohli was like, no, I'm too tired to do autographs, so just went and got on the team bus. And so Joel and the other net bowlers were standing around, and apparently Dhoni just turned up and like started to have a chat with them, like walked over to these net bowlers. He didn't know who Joel was. They were just some kids basically who'd been roped in from the local club to send balls down at Kohli for 2 hours, and Dhoni sat and had a chat with them for half an hour, which I think was a really cool thing to do. So the only actual anecdote about Dhoni involving real people not involved in cricket, is a positive one. However, I also agree that today was one of the funniest, if not the funniest thing I've ever seen in cricket. Like, I don't think it beats like a hilarious own goal in football, or like a terrible red card. I think football
as anachronistic moments in people's storied careers go.
Yeah,
it is on a par with Zidane headbutt.
It was, except that they won. Like, had they lost,
that's the only. Yeah,
had they lost, it would have been like, oh my god, that is peak cosmic justice, or but not even cosmic justice against Dhoni, just against all like the fanboys and the hype. It was like, Ross, you were talking about the stumping, like, it was a good stumping. Like, it was not, we need 77 different angles of this and a timer on how long it took him to move his hands 3 inches. Like, it was like a regulation stumping.
No, there wasn't one compliment to Ravi Jadeja. Ravi Jadeja is literally outfoxed the batsman of the tournament, right? Literally the most formed player, and he's done him.
So he had all the hype. I thought when the light show started, it started with like a Dhoni thing, and I thought we were going to have a 20-minute halftime Dhoni show. We didn't have that. Didn't quite get that far. But we did have like, the hype all season. Dhoni gets flashed on the screen. Crowd goes wild. Dhoni comes out and faces 2 balls. The crowd goes wild. Dhoni hits a 6. It's the greatest 6 of all time. And I said it on the last show, I think. It's starting to grate a little bit. Like, the amount of adulation for, yes, a great player, but a great player who really is not having that much of an impact on the game anymore, and within the actual sporting context of the thing we're watching, is important because of his leadership role, but is far from the force that he once was. That all comes to a head in that ball. He goes out, the thing he's supposed to be able to do, smacks it straight at David Miller. He's out first ball. deflates the whole stadium, deflates the commentators who were really begging for the moment, weren't they? You could all queuing up to be the one who's like, and Dhoni does it in his final game. You know, I'm sure they all had pre-prepared lines about Tala, Dhoni.
He's got his hair done
plastic.
for it.
It's a man willing to fall on his sword. A man willing to fall on his sword just to make sure everyone knows the IPL is not scripted. That's what that was about, right? Dhoni scores the winning runs. Everyone's like, "See, told you, it's fake." Dhoni does that. No one's playing that argument, are they? Once again, selfless Dhoni. I would say, like, with some level of sincerity, we should point out as British people, there is an absolute love of Schadenfreude. You know,
Yes,
like,
that's true. Yeah.
we drink it. We drink it like coffee in the morning. It sustains us. But I have to have some sympathy with Dhoni for a man who, you know, like you say, lauded, a godlike figure in cricket in India, someone who's literally in the middle of a game and they've got some Dhoni light show going on. I think you can afford some forgiveness from going, actually, you know what? I'm going to go and do this because I'm the man.
So you're saying he's a product of his environment? He's a product of his environment. He's not.
I think he spent so long trying to resist that environment that eventually it got to him.
What I would also say
20 years
is if it is the last time we see Dhoni, we should put on record one hell of a career. Like there is
five time. Now I can do that. Five-time
IPL champion, World Cup winner, both formats World Cup winner. Probably indisputably the greatest white ball captain of all time. Most appearances in the IPL. Still a useful player until the end. Still a great cricket mind. Looking forward to hearing him on comms, hopefully. And according to Joel, quite a nice guy. So look, if it is the end, it was a heck of a laugh that he gave us. But also he kind of has the last laugh at us, doesn't he?
Yeah, he also gets to do whatever the hell he wants, right? He's MS Dhoni. He literally could have gone out and opened the batting. He literally could have got a duck, and we wouldn't have cared, right? It was just quite funny that just to have everything thrown at you, that Dhoni is this whole perfect person, and he is just like you and I. He literally is someone who has got an ego. And
I think that's a little harsh.
Yeah,
I don't think MS Dhoni is quite like. Yeah,
you're also giving us a lot of credit there, Ross. Like,
I mean, in terms of that, he's not a deity. He's not a god. He is human. Is what
just
I'm saying.
a demigod.
So
yes, demigod.
He's in that sphere that he is just as fallible to kind of his ego, just as anybody else is, right? And that's what I think is. It's even nicer for that image. It was just really quite funny. And the fact that Jadeja was the one who pretty much bailed CSK out, I thought was also tremendous. Like from last season, where he was pretty much laughed out as being a captain. Dhoni kind of came in again when he had retired, and yeah, as you said, Max, at the top of the show, pretty much was close to leaving CSK if the rumours to be believed. He has ice in his veins, and yeah, those shots were great, and he put away the bad balls, and it was a huge win.
Right, let's talk about a couple of other things. I mean, like obviously, Chennai Super Kings, they do really well to chase 170 odd off 15 overs. If we wanted to talk, it's a difficult one to analyse from a critical point of view. I think this match, one because it happened very recently and there was a lot of drama, and it was also it also happened over 6 hours. So remembering all the specific details is not.
No, but that's the beauty of a reaction show, isn't it?
Of that easy. But second innings, do either of you think that Gujarat got anything wrong in terms of how they went about trying to defend 170 odd? Ross?
Yeah, I was actually we're in the Discord chat, and you can join our Discord chat if you go to patreon.com/thecricketpod. And it's been off the chain for the IPL. So thank you to all of our Patreons for contributing to that. But Jack, I actually really agreed with your point. I think the way on that show, which said on the Discord, saying that GT had to deal with this in a different way. That I felt that they went into this dealing with it like it was still a T20. Was my view. I don't think they adjusted their tactics enough. I think they just would just like, we're going to stick to the same game plan as if it was T20, but we're going to do 15 overs. Your suggestion was, well, actually, make the most of the power play up front with the bowlers who are good in that space. Don't risk having someone like Rashid Khan or Noor Ahmed bowl in the power play, because you can give them more coverage and limit the amount of runs that they potentially get through having only 2 fielders, obviously outside the ring. And yeah, I think they will look to regret that. And Rashid Khan going, what was it, 14 that he went for in his in the 4th over?
Yeah, he did. He went for quite a few across his 3 overs. He went for 44 off the 3. Like, yeah, my theory, bearing in mind, the state of the game, there's going to be 4 power play overs, and each bowler can only bowl 3 overs. What I thought they probably should have done was just go with 3 Shami overs up front, much better with the new ball than he is with the old ball. Just go 1, 3, 5 Shami, get him out of the way. Fill in the other ones. I always go with 1 of Hardik. He went for 14, but I don't really mind that. And I'd have probably thrown Josh Little the ball and just been like, bowl line and length. I mean, like, it's if you get hit, it's not the end of the world. And your over, actually, that over being bowled in the power play, it doesn't remove. Like, part of the problem with bowling Rashid Khan then is that one of the most likely ways for them to get a wicket then disappears, and that is a catch on the boundary, because Chennai Super Kings needs to score 12 and over off him. Like, the only advantage that fell in favour of Gujarat was that because they needed 171 or 15 overs, they had to attack all of the bowlers. And I think attacking Rashid Khan when he has full protection is quite difficult to do. There's no reason to use him in a defensive role in the power play when his wicket-taking potential has just gone up, because they absolutely need to score off him. So I think they missed a little bit of a trick there. I mean, like, really...
I mean, his power play record also, as a bowler, isn't that good anyway.
Yeah.
Rashid
Well,
Khan.
yeah.
Like, the difference is really quite palpable when it comes to using Rashid Khan in the power play or in the middle overs. And I mean, it's high risk. I think would be how I would file that decision.
Yeah, there's also
it could have come off really nicely for them, and nipped them 2 wickets and got them well ahead of the game. Is I suppose the other way you can look at it. But on balance, I probably agree with the assessment and the set, especially when a 4-over power play out of 15 overs feels a bit shorter, doesn't it?
It is as a percentage. It's about 5% shorter in the innings. So. Ross?
Yeah, and Max, I agree, and I just think there is a bit around in a final. Sometimes it is, can the big players do it? And Rashid Khan is the best T20 spinner in the world, right? And actually, Hardik's just like, I need something from somewhere, and took the gamble, and it just didn't pay off. But yeah, I thought it was more of a heart over head decision that unfortunately they're going to live to regret.
I don't know if there was a wet ball aspect to it as well, whether they were thinking, we can't leave all of our spin options till later in the piece because the ball might get a bit slippery, and then it gets even tougher, especially
it had just been raining for about 7 hours.
Yeah,
so I was just kind of just like...
so I said there's a chance that would have been a factor in their thinking.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the rain, because I think this is actually an issue that probably should be addressed to some extent as well. Obviously, the match is delayed. Now, I think there's a few things that basically, from a sporting point of view, as good as the drama was, and I think someone in the chat, maybe Girish, said, "Why are we sort of talking about the WWE and like luck or something like that?" And it's firmly sort of tongue in cheek, the WWE stuff. Like, we understand that it isn't fake, and it's not scripted in any way, but by arranging the final for when they did, and because of the stupid light show and Divine or whatever that was, and because the rain happened, and because of DLS, we ended up in a situation which was not an equal sporting contest, and that, I think, it's a fairly short complaint, and I think the drama more than makes up for it. But a team batting for 20 overs and a team batting for 15 overs with the same number of wickets does not equal an equal sporting contest. And I know there's an adjustment made by DLS here, but we also know, and this is a fact. I mean, this is a fact. We know that DLS doesn't produce scores which align with our better predictive models these days. We have predictive models that are better at determining the outcome of a match than Duckworth Lewis Stern is at determining the outcome of a match. We don't use those models. We use something a little bit antiquated. And so what happened in this scenario, and this is why it is a little bit unequal, and this is why I think if you're a Gujarat fan, you can feel a little bit aggrieved at what's happened here, and you can complain about the lights, and there are some other things that maybe we'll touch on. But at the point when the rain starts, Chennai Super Kings have got a 20 to 25% chance of winning, depending on which model you look at, or which bookmaker you want to bet with. But that was about the ballpark. Actually, ESPN had it as high as 89%. Now their model is a bit crap. They thought Gujarat were an 89% favourite. That's clear. That was clearly wrong. But 20-25%. After the rain, Chennai Super Kings went up to 36%. So they got a huge extra slice of equity in the match, basically purely because it rained and purely because they had an extra long break. And I think, and this one, a few people sort of saying this on Twitter, and I kind of agree. Like, it was dry all day. Yeah. Why did they play the cricket match when they knew there was going to be weather? Now I understand that some people are at work and stuff, but these games, they kick off like late at night. Like,
they were still playing at 2 a.m, weren't they?
Yeah, would it have been difficult to start at 5? Like, would that have been completely impossible on the reserve day to actually get a cricket match in? I think it probably would have. I think it probably would have been possible. Would it have been possible to maybe trim the Divine performance short a little bit, knowing that there was a rainstorm in the? I think that that kind of maybe would have been possible. Would it be possible to actually have a look at how we create target scores in these games? And,
the other thing
and use a model that's actually better than the one that we know is substantially flawed. Now this is a problem here. 171 off 15 overs with 10 wickets is a much easier chase than 215 to win off 20 overs. It's a much easier target. Like, you're barely adjusting the run rate and you're taking away 5 overs. And that is a little bit of a problem from a sporting point of view.
Yeah. Well, something I think you mentioned earlier in the IPL is that the other thing about Duckworth Lewis is it doesn't even account for the impact player. So not only have you got a model that's not quite up to speed in terms of just what other better models might be doing now, you also haven't got anything that's taken into account the fact that you bat deeper than you did before. So there's that to consider as well. So I think but that's just cricket, isn't it? Cricket takes long to catch up with everything.
Look, it's cricket.
It's so cricket. The whole thing is vintage.
I'm not complaining about what we watched. It was great sport. That final over was fantastic. I'm saying that from a if we want to make the thing better, if we want in the future a scenario like that to not be biased in favour of the team chasing just because of a toss of a coin, we are able to do that if we're cleverer. And I would have liked us to have thought about this scenario. When I say us, I mean like cricket fans, people running cricket, to have thought about this scenario.
It so rarely rains in cricket, Jack.
Well, yes, exactly.
That. We've got nothing to base this on.
there is never any rain.
I think it's fairly uncontroversial, however you look at it, to say that you shouldn't ever be in a position where generally, by all sort of models, the average percent equity, as you say, a team having the game should change based on the number the target you're giving them because of the rain. Like, you will want to be making, basically you want a goal seek where the end result is exactly the same. So if it's not, something's wrong. So that does need thinking about.
And those models, by the way, I mean, some people might not like them, but you can do statistical analysis on them, and they are decent. They are pretty accurate. I mean, just to drive this home, I mean, like if you want to talk about this maybe in more literal terms, there really aren't that many chases of 214 in the history of the IPL. I think there are 6 plus maybe 2 more losing scores over 214 batting last in 15 years in the IPL. Now I get that some of those are at grounds where 214 was never going to be, it was just never on, and there are a relatively limited number of games where a team ever has to chase 214. So it's not the same as saying you can't say, in 1,000 matches nobody has ever got 214, although it very rarely happens because there actually aren't that many opportunities to do it. But it is quite a rare event that happens. A team scoring 170 or 15 overs with 10 wickets is it's just easier. Like to take T10, if you want to look at it, extrapolate it out from a T10. In a T10, a par score batting first is in the 125 to 135 range. So you're looking at not that much more, maybe 40 more than that, or 5 overs. It's not, and that would be that. That's for par. That's for a 50-50 chance of winning. Like Gujarat should have had a much hard. It should have been much harder for CSK. That's all. That's really the only for balance sake on this.
But even then, even after the adjustment, they were still underdogs in terms of the win viz and what have you, and they still had a lot to do. So
cool. Right. We'll probably do a proper IPL wrap-up show where we revisit some predictions and stuff later. We'll try and get Dan on for that. It is obviously really late at night in India. It's pretty late in the UK, 10 o'clock. That's probably our latest podcast finish for a few years.
It's my bedtime in 5 minutes.
Yeah, so we are actually going to wrap up a little bit early on this. Max, as the CSK fan, can you do a final tribute to the boys in yellow, the yellow men? I don't know what you want to call them.
The yellow men. Well, storied franchise. What can I say? You never write them off. We wrote them off a couple of years ago as a bunch of old fuddy-duddies, and they showed us all how wrong we were. We wrote off Shivam Dubé as a crazy pick for far too much money, and look at what an important guy he's become in the CSK lineup. You just cannot count CSK out, and once again they've proven that, and they've upset the apple cart, and this time they've done it in the most spectacular fashion. So whatever you think about CSK, you have to say today was quite an enjoyable one in terms of cricket. So
absolutely. A fantastic IPL. Congratulations to Chennai Super Kings. I nearly said Mumbai Indians. How funny would that have been? I think congratulations to Dhoni. If it's the last time we see you, it was a hell of a ride. And thanks to our audience for hanging around with us.
And don't forget Ambati Raidu as well.
Yeah, spare a thought for Raidu. Good night.